Hey y'all, this is Fix It with Fran, where I talk about all things faith, family, food, and fun. I'm recording this intro because initially this started off and I did not do an intro, and I want to let you know that this video gets a little heavy, a little serious, a little emotional for me, but I'm glad that I did it, and I'll tell you why. After all of this processing for me was over, I kind of reached out to my mom, my sister, and just told them I had my MRI today for my breast. This whole video, as the title says, will be about me having MRI scan done today of my breast because I had some things go on, which you'll find out in like the next clip, where I needed to have ultrasound done, and then I had a follow-up ultrasound, and then I had an impromptu, very sudden mammogram that I was hustled over to do after my second ultrasound. In that moment, I thought I was in the clear, that everything was fine. Second ultrasound, what they saw in the first one was gone, and I thought I was going to get dressed and leave, and they said, no, we've looked at your family history, and with all this and the age that you started your menstrual cycle, you should have been getting these done at 25. If you didn't know, most recommendations are that women start having their mammograms at age 50. And for some women, they say to start having them at age 40. And I think in 2018, the CDC gave a recommendation that some women would need to start having theirs as early as age 35. So at 34 was when I had Monica and had this issue to be told that I should have started having my mammograms 10 years ago. At that time, I was shell-shocked, and I went and did the mammogram because they told me I needed to do it, and then I got hustled around, and the ladies shifting this and shifting that and asking me if I'm okay, and I wasn't okay. Like, I was literally in the mammogram trying not to cry because I knew that I was about to be 35, and I knew that, okay, like, maybe I can get my mom to come with me, or at least she'll, like, coach me through it and, like, book me up and let me know what I need to do. So to have it happen so suddenly and unexpectedly and kind of not on my terms just threw me off. And then to be told, as much as I try to prepare myself and as much as I try to be in charge of my health and to do things proactively, that I was behind and that I hadn't done what I needed to do. It was just all this being compounded on me at one time. And in talking today with my mom, she confirmed a lot that yes, there's a history, and yes, on my mom's side and her mother and her aunts. What I did not know is that my mom had a lump to appear. I knew she'd had something happen when she was in high school, and it kind of went away. So when I mentioned that to my doctors before, they're like, oh, don't be worried about that. But she had a lump that came up 2 years ago that she still has. That is benign. That is, I think, non-cancerous. I always confuse the benign and malignant, but I think the non-cancerous kind of lump. But me and my sisters had no idea. And true to form, my little sister's like, what? You didn't tell me? And I said, I understand. And I say I understand in the sense that the whole reason that I did this recording and that I am going to post it is because I know that feeling of, which I tried to say before, and I kept getting emotional, and I think I'm okay now. Not wanting, like, you go to these appointments and you just want to be done with the appointment and you just don't want to talk about it. And especially when you're holding your finger, like holding your fingers, like fingers crossed, like just holding your breath, wanting to get that phone call the next day that everything's okay and they'll see you in so many months or next year. Like, you just want it to kind of be like radio silent and not have to acknowledge it. But we're not talking about that feeling of that weight and that feeling of that anticipation. And the quote that I mentioned at some point that I looked back up because I posted it on my Facebook this morning, it was a series of things that came up in a Black therapist group that I'm a part of because, like I mentioned, I'm a licensed social worker. The quote said that there are certain truths you can acknowledge, and one of the truths is that you can be terrified to take the next step but know that it's the right thing to do. And that's what I was thinking of earlier in my car, because to me, this is the essence of that feeling. You can be terrified to go in for that first MRI. You can be terrified to go in for that first mammogram or even the repeat mammogram and still know that it's the right thing to do and still know that you're going to go do it and feel terrified with every step that you take. But I hope that this little vlog of mine helps you to feel a little bit more empowered, to know that you're not alone in feeling that way, and to know that you're doing the right thing for you, for yourself as a mom, for your little people, whoever they are, and how many you have. So yeah, that was the whole reason, and again, my heart behind doing this. So it may get a little ugly. You may see some bodily fluids, but at least the upper half comes out the other side. But like I say, it's Fix It With Fran, where I talk about all things faith, family, food, and fun. Keeping it real with you, letting you have a mommy moment this Monday with me, and again, giving you a little piece of my heart and my story. So, like I always say, we can't fix everything, but I do believe God has given us all gifts and talents that can fix something. So, till next time, I hope you will find that thing and fix it, and enjoy this little bit of a ride. See ya. All right, y'all. Today, I am having my first MRI of my breast, which is another little something that you don't know about me. Last year, when I started nursing Monica, I started having, what did they call it? I had to look up the name of it and put this at the end because I don't even remember what it was called, but there was basically a blockage in one part of my breast, my right breast. And I noticed it because if you've ever nursed and you've been a mom or known somebody, whoever watches this, one of the most effective techniques for some of us moms or parents or persons who choose to lactate so that we can feed our babies is to like do a compression massage to help get the milk out. And I was doing that and I felt a weird little, I guess, blockage. It wasn't really a lump, but it was just like, it felt like I thought I had something in like a lymph node or something, or a milk duct that was blocked. So I was worried about, what is it, metastasis? Whatever, a blocked milk duct or an infected milk duct, that. So I talked to my doctor, talked to my OB, she checked it, didn't like how it felt either, and they sent me in for screening at the imaging center. It was a bad experience, I'll just be honest. The doctor that I saw was not my normal, the person that I had seen at my initial visit. So I had two screenings. One that was initial one where they did the ultrasound and did some other stuff. And then they told me I needed to come back for a second scan. Second scan was fine, whatever it was. It's like a blocked vein, basically, or collapsed vein, prolapse vein, something. But I saw a different doctor when I came back for that third visit at this point, and the doctor was just like, you should have been coming and we've screened you and you should have started getting your mammograms at 25. And I had like a meltdown on my drive home. I called one of my closest friends here in New Orleans, and I'm grateful to have friends that give you that space to just cry, because I just cried. I cried my whole drive back home, which is about 15 minutes from where I am now. And I don't even know if I'm going to post this. I probably will, because like I said, I want y'all to get to know me and get to know things that I think are important, but also recording this for Monica, because I know, because of my family history and things, that I am at a higher risk of having so many kind of cancers. And I need to get changed now, so I don't take up too much time, but I'll explain that story later. I had my first growth that a doctor was concerned about when I was in 5th grade. It was an enlarged tonsil. And that was hard. And so for most of my life, I've been told, because of your family history, because of this, because of that. But I was kind of like bum rushed into my first mammogram, and I wasn't prepared. And I was kind of just shell-shocked. So I'm here today on what I now know as International Women's Day. Wasn't planning it this way. They just said, we need you to come in today because you've had your last cycle. And I was supposed to actually go during the ice storms in Louisiana, down here in New Orleans, and my appointment got canceled because it was ice and storming. And I called them because I ended up having to have Monica at home because her daycare was closed. But I'm here today, and I think it's something else that's important, because of all the things that we should be empowered to do, being empowered to take charge of our health, being empowered to be with providers who make us feel comfortable and make us feel informed, to make decisions for ourselves, is important things. So this will be my first MRI for my breast. I'm about to get changed. I'm in the little changing room now. It's not as nice as the ones for the mammogram. I guess they want you to feel a little, like it almost looks spa-like on the mammogram side. But I'm gonna get changed. I'm going, it's supposed to be a long procedure. I have to do a IV contrast, I think she said, so this will be fun. But this is part one, and I'll let you know how the rest goes and how I feel after. Well, didn't take that long. It wasn't that bad. Whew. I didn't realize. Got that? Emotional. This redness is, I had to lay flat to do the MRI. And my face was on the little holder. So that's what that's from. Not quite that emotional. But it's hard for me being, as my parents used to say, their sensitive one. Because this makes me think about my grandma on both sides, maternal and paternal grandmothers both had breast cancer. They had metastasized to bone cancer. So I think about them, think about Monica, think about how it sucks to have to be here. I think about how I still owe it to her to be here. I owe it to myself to be here. About how I will make sure I tell her when she's old enough but still young enough so that she knows that she probably will have to start doing these in her 20s. Well, hopefully modern medicine will change at some point, but still, it's a lot. It's heavy, and I need to change and go to my car because somebody else is probably waiting to go. But yeah, it's a lot. And I'm sure most people think about a lot while you're trying not to focus on the noise of the MRI machine. It's a lot to process, just a lot. Yeah, that's all I can say right now. But I'm okay. Just really, it's kind of introspective right now. You have a lot of time to think while you're doing the scans. All right, I'm in the car now, a little more collected. So of course I have to walk out. You never want to walk out. I can't even say that. More collected, walked out. Being in the waiting room of an imaging center for cancer patients, potential cancer patients, is always hard for me, if nobody else. Takes me back to like when I worked hospice, when I was with different patients, because I just am an empathic person. And I remember telling one of my friends after my first mammogram that you're sitting there and you're around other folks. This time there were males and females in the imaging center with me. The first time that I went, it was just females. And one lady came in, and it was kind of at the height of, well, the start of COVID, or when we were aware of it here in New Orleans. And like they were trying to tell people to put the mask on, and you had to wear masks, and the lady's like, well, I'm about to die either way because this cancer's gonna kill me. And you saw people kind of be like, uncomfortable awkwardness. And it's like, you know, you're surrounded by people, some of us who are in there getting their first mammogram, or some who are going for a scan or an ultrasound or whatever it is. And I can't speak for anybody else, but I had this roller coaster of emotions, because it's like, for me, it's like praying for people that are around me, praying for myself, not knowing where I'm about to end up on this trajectory of life. Like, am I about to find out something that I'm not sure how I'll be able to handle? I'm hoping to not be in the situation that this person next to me is clearly in. You don't want to sound negative to be like, I want to be in your shoes, but that's really how you feel. And it's really how you feel. And at the same time, you pray for them, because it's just like, you don't want to be in their shoes, but you can imagine, like, that's the reason why you don't want to be in their shoes, because you know from having loved ones in your family who have dealt with cancer, from caring from someone who's dealt with cancer, from me working with hospice patients, that it's a long road to be on. And here I am again.
So I think about a lot of that, and I found out after I get ready and get prepared to leave, because I have had my COVID shots back in, what, it's February now. Yeah, I got my first shot February 2nd. My second shot was like February 23rd. And since it has not been a full 12 weeks, I will possibly have to get scanned again in 3 weeks. And if you've never had an MRI, this is probably, I don't even know how many MRIs I've had. Between MRIs and CAT scans and PET scans and scans. I've been scanned a lot. And those are stories that I will eventually tell, because, like I said, if you really subscribe to this YouTube channel and you really watch these videos as they start to get longer, you'll really get to know me a little bit better. Even with the things that I don't post. This may end up being a video that's just for Monica. I don't know yet. Because it's getting heavier than, I don't know if I want to get this heavy yet. I don't know. Yeah, so that all being said, what I was trying to say was I may have to come back in 3 weeks and do it all again. Or do an ultrasound. Or whatever. Because as I have mentioned probably in my second COVID shot video that I have not posted yet, because I caught myself planning to edit. Good intentions. I'm busy. Don't always get to execute. With my second COVID shot video, I learned in that process, between my own research, that I mentioned in both videos, I think, that the only real side effect I had was swelling in my armpits. Like I felt where my lymph node got inflamed. But that often happens to me with any vaccination shot that I get. It has happened to me since I was younger. And that's a common side effect that folks feel after immunization shots. But because I am, I don't know, having pre-cancer screens, I have to come back because they want to make sure that there's no inflammation of fluid. So since it has not been a full 12 weeks since my second shot, I have to get scanned again. Be that an ultrasound or another MRI. So it's heavy. And I guess what I was really trying to get at was the point of, it's a lot that you think about. And it's a lot that you kind of internalize. And I realized for me, the whole point of all of this is to break the silence on a lot of stuff, because I realized in having conversations with my friends and some of my family members that there's a whole lot of stuff that we deal with as women, as Black women, that we all kind of know and we all kind of think about, and that nobody's saying anything about, and that we're all thinking somebody should be saying something about this. And I remember after my first mammogram, like I literally went home and was trying to find a Facebook group or something or somebody, because I'm like, 34 and I don't know anybody else that's talking about people this young dealing with breast cancer, and somebody told me that I should have started getting my scans when I was in my 20s. Like, nobody told me this. Like, why didn't I know this? I think I found one group. It sucked. So I want better for myself. I want better for us. I want better for Monica. And part of that starts with me. Whatever I can do to make that be better. At least how I see it. So, in this attempt to live this purpose-filled life that I want to live, for as long as I continue to get to live it, that's what I'm going to do. And y'all really going to get to know me now, because y'all getting like crying friends, snotty face friend. If I don't do anything else, I'm going to keep it real. And thankfully, since I'm somebody's mama, I got baby wipes in the car now. Although, I think even before I kept baby wipes in the car, because baby wipes is useful, multi-purpose. Excuse me. Here we are. Our friends now, honey, because we're like 10 minutes in on this clip and it's like 3 other clips already. So like, if you see this part, you're like a devoted watcher and It's a lot. It is heavy. And I thought about a lot of things during my like 30-minute processing. And nobody talks about that either. Like, it went from sounding like, what? Like HVAC, just kind of like humming, like the air conditioning, to sounding like drilling, like what, like roadway construction, to sounding like an alarm, like Then it started sounding like drumming, like. And I had all these headphones and I was supposed to hear music, and then I just couldn't hear anything but the noise. So I had to get lost in my thoughts because that was annoying to me. And me and my thoughts, honey, when you're like an extrovert or introvert that's extra empathic and always think about stuff, like 30-something minutes of thinking and thinking about like your family and remembering when your grandma got sick and this person got sick and how fast the cancer moved and and that is why you see this like fountain of emotions, because it's a lot. But it's important. It's important to come out and get these scans. And I think if it was a conversation that we had more, all of this can of worms would kind of like out. When you just go get an appointment, like we need these appointments to make sure we're okay. I'm gonna wrap this up because I need to go back home. I got a few stops I need to make and some work I need to wrap up before tomorrow. So thank y'all for watching, and hopefully something out of this is encouraging to somebody or resonates with somebody. At least you know it's not just you. This is how my first, I guess, screening MRI went. I don't even know what it's called. I have to look back at my appointment chart to see what they called it. I'll check back in with y'all later.
All right, I'm back home. I'm good. Like I said, this is just the beginning of learning more about me and me kind of tapping into some of these topics and subjects that I was kind of thinking during my little running errands and drive back home. There's been a lot of things that I've either thought about for years or experienced for years and just never talked about because, like I said, I probably am more of a private person than I think a lot of people give me credit for being. And two, I know I can be a very sensitive, a very emotive person, and I feel like it's especially, I guess, resonating today for me on International Women's Day because I realized that for years I kind of have folded myself back and into this space of what's okay to talk about and what's okay to share, and people don't want to see you get too emotional and want to see you cry too much, and don't do that because that's not okay. And I'm breaking out of that because, like I said in one of the previous clips, I think more and more in conversations that I've had in one-on-ones with people that I talk to about more intimate topics or things that I call like conversations that I have in spaces that are where I feel safe and I feel comfortable going beyond just the surface. And I feel like it's really important to make those spaces. And for me, I'm going to make this YouTube be one of those spaces. As I've said on some of my other videos, I don't use my social media per se for negative debate. If you decide to come on these videos and post whatever BS crap you want to say, I'm just not going to respond. And my true response is going to be for you to go with God and for the peace of God to go with you, because I don't have time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the wherewithal to engage that. I just don't. As I said, I have dealt with a lot in my life, a lot of challenges, a lot of health challenges, a lot of physical challenges, a lot of things to where I want to live and I want to enjoy life. I want to have the abundant life that God has promised me on this side of heaven before I get to the other side of heaven. And I don't have time for that. And dealing with having had Monica and making it through childbirth, and dealing with COVID, and dealing with still all of the pre-existing health conditions I may have had, life is too short. And I don't know how much more life I have promised. And I don't say that to sound morbid or negative or whatever. I really didn't think this was going to be an emotional segment for me either, but those are the things I think about. And I'm sure it's not just me thinking about these things. I mean, I'm 35 now,
And it's just a lot. And I do feel like there's so much that a lot of us just aren't talking about. So if I can create a space where at least it's put out there for people to know that it's not just them thinking about that kind of stuff, for folks to know that, yeah, we do need to have these conversations. And if I can help be a launching point for those conversations, then I hope to do that. And also too, the rest of this week will probably be more stuff about plants and showing you all some of my landscaping and my random shopping trips to Lowe's. But this mommy moment was, yeah, just for me to talk about and kind of document that I had my first MRI for my breast cancer pre-screening. I'm gonna remember, or at least maybe putting the actual title, what they're calling this. That I had my first mammogram. Was it November, December last year? What, it's March now. I don't know if it was 3 months ago or 6 months ago. It was after Monica was born. Maybe it was October, November. I don't know. But now I'm supposed to be on the cycle of getting it done every 6 months. If I didn't say that before, because I can't remember. And this is just this will complete my first cycle of ultrasound, mammogram, MRI. This is my first set. Oh, look at cheerleader. Hey, let's go. I didn't ever cheerlead, so if that's not accurate, right syncopation, that's why I didn't cheerlead. Yeah. So I probably will not do videos for all of these because I gotta go every 6 months, maybe every 3 months. But I wanted to document this again to start the conversation, to let it be known that this is my experience. This is, again, my mommy moment for the day. And I think as mothers it's important, as daughters it's important, as women it's important, to not just keep that in. Because I can, like I said, imagine I'm not the only one who goes through that roller coaster of emotions every time. And the thought of, what is this time going to be like? And the feeling of, well, is there even space for me to say anything about this? Because I know other people who are dealing with so much more. I know other people who actually have breast cancer. I know other people who've actually been diagnosed. And it's not to lessen their experience. And it's not to say that this feels more or less than, but it's to say you do have feelings. Even if you get a scan, even if it comes back okay every time you've had a scan, because you still know, like I just said, I have to go back in 6 months. And you live in that limbo of knowing that at some point, or wondering if at some point they're going to tell you this one didn't come back okay. And for me, I'm realizing that it's important to not keep that in, and to find spaces and places and people that you feel safe saying, I'm not okay. And I believe that it's going to be okay. I believe God, the universe, whoever your higher power may be that you connect with, you got to tell somebody that. You got to have a space to say that, because it's a lot. And here I am again. It's a lot, though. It's really a lot. It's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to go through this. And to know that you have that kind of like looming 6 month, I got to do this again. And you can't keep that in, and you can't feel that way for another 6 months and another 6 months and another 6 months. Because what often I think happens to folks is that they won't go back. And the one thing that you deserve better than is to go back. Like, you deserve to go back. You deserve to face that fear, to face that anxiety, to face that uncertainty head on. And it's not to say that you can't be afraid and brave at the same time, because you can. Because I was. And I saw something this morning that, like, talking about different truths that can exist, and I shared it. Like, you can have hurt and still have joy at the same time. You can have fear and still have courage at the same time. You can have strength and still have trepidation at the same time. You can. And this, to me, is one of those all-encompassing kind of situations where I see that. But we're going to get through it. And I don't know what this will become. Maybe this will become something else, or another conversation for me to begin in places and spaces, again, that I feel like are safe. But if nothing else, for us not to be silent about this. And on this International Women's Day to know that it's another way for us to be empowered, especially as moms of young men and young women, for them to know that it's important for us all to do our annual scans, do our annual screens. It made me think too of this program that I used to help coordinate with my church called Girls of Destiny, because we used to teach them about doing breast exams, about just knowing themselves and knowing their health and paying attention to when things are different. And it made me think too of when I had COVID and people said, well, how did you keep your baby from getting sick? How did you keep your husband from getting sick? I pay attention to myself and how I'm feeling. And when I start to even have more fatigue or have congestion, and I knew something was wrong, and I separated myself from them. And by the grace of God, Monica never got sick. With all the scans and screenings that we had her end up going through, she never tested positive. So it's important, y'all, for us to be empowered and to face this stuff and to not bottle it up and sit in silence. So if anything, I hope you hear my heart in all of this. I hope that it helps at least one person, because if it gets to at least one person and you hear my heart in this and get that message and feel like you're not alone, then that's what this was for. So till next time, y'all, I'll touch in with you later and show you some plants. How about that? Thank y'all for watching. If I didn't say before, I probably didn't. This is Fix It with Fran, where I talk about all things faith, family, food, and fun. And I believe God has given us all gifts and talents that can fix some problem that exists in the world. And while we can't fix everything, I do believe that we can all fix something. So until next time, I pray that you would find that thing and fix it. Thanks for watching.